In front of Western Sea High School, a flurry of activity unfolded as several professionals meticulously set up a magic array. Over 100 grade 12 students sat upright, their attention riveted on Principal Lu Yun's speech. Lu Yun, a man of few words, hoped that each and every one of them would reach the heights of their esteemed predecessor, Su Qianxing, and become pillars of humanity. Su, once a student at this very school, had successfully transferred to become a revered divine holy mage, now a prominent figure at level 80. Principal Lu often used such achievements to inspire and guide the students. Lin, one of the students, gazed at the nearly completed transfer array circle, his eyes flickering with a mix of seriousness and anticipation. Having been in this world for several years, he understood its complexities. This world intertwined with gaming elements, where people underwent class transfers in their last year of high school. Clearing dungeons, exploring hidden realms, joining battlefields, or slaying monsters in the wilderness. All these activities yielded experience points, allowing individuals to level up, master skills, and enhance their strength. Fighting against various demonic creatures, humanity had carved out a space for itself through the blood and sacrifice of countless ancestors. The success rate of class transfers had long reached 100%, with the only difference being the quality of the professions. Combat-oriented classes were the most popular, followed by support classes, while lifestyle classes ranked last. However, legendary and rare professions were extremely uncommon, especially in Western Sea City, which hadn't seen a single legendary profession emerge in the past decade. As a beam of light shot up into the sky, signaling the full enchantment of the transfer array circle, Lin followed the group, contemplating what profession he would transfer into. No one could accurately predict their future profession. Suddenly, a tap on his shoulder jolted him from his thoughts. Gao Yang, smiling broadly, approached and asked what profession Lin hoped to transfer into. Lin glanced at him, shook his head, and remained silent. Gao Yang continued, "Come on, tell me. It's okay to share. I really want to become a knight. Just imagine, with my tall and sturdy appearance, I'd be imposing, and I could protect the ladies." Lin, not much of a talker despite his excellent academic performance, had few friends. Many thought there was something wrong with him, perceiving his aloofness as arrogance. After exchanging a few words, Gao Yang left to chat with someone else. In those brief conversations, voices tinged with envy and bitterness could be heard. Many felt that Lin's silence was a sign of aloofness due to his good grades. Gao Yang tried to defend him, saying, "Lin just doesn't like talking," but few believed it. Lin didn't feel the need to explain himself. As the group arrived in front of the array circle, Principal Lu walked up to an elderly man with great respect. "Master Zhang, I appreciate your help today," he said. Master Zhang, with a warm smile, appeared to be a very amiable old man. He didn't conceal his information, which everyone could see. Zhang Chang, level 52, Array Grandmaster. Lin was slightly surprised to see that he was an Array Grandmaster with such an impressive level. Array Grandmasters, a rare support class profession, were not commonly seen but possessed tremendous power. Soon, Principal Lu Yun brought out a list, ready to proceed with the day's significant event. Principal Lu Yun began reading off the names of the students. The first name called was Shuda. With a hint of nervousness, Shuda stepped into the transfer array. As the array roared to life, a dazzling light enveloped him. Moments later, his class transfer concluded. Lifestyle profession, farmer. Shuda's face turned slightly pale. Becoming a farmer was unexpected, but it was still a decent profession since everyone needed to eat. As he stepped down from the array, his close friends comforted him. The second student hurried into the array. Again, a dazzling light filled the scene. Lifestyle profession, chef. The student beamed with satisfaction. His father was a chef, so following in his footsteps felt right. One by one, students were called up for their class transfers, most ending up with lifestyle professions. Master Zhang and Principal Lu Yun sighed, disappointment clear on their faces. So far, not a single rare profession had appeared. Master Zhang, the architect of the transfer array, stood beside Principal Lu. He was acutely aware of the class transfer situation. Lu called out another name, and Charlotte responded promptly. She glanced at Lin, her eyes flashing with a hint of provocation. Charlotte and Lin were known as the two geniuses of the high school, but Lin always outshined her academically. Charlotte, who always came in second, harbored a deep grudge and refused to accept defeat. Master Zhang, who had been keeping his eyes closed, suddenly opened them and glanced at Charlotte. "This girl is impressive," he murmured. He detected that Charlotte's spiritual power was more than twice as strong as an average person's, indicating her potential to become a mage. As the array activated, a radiant light enveloped Charlotte, and 2 enormous fireballs suddenly rose, bursting like fireworks. Principal Lu Yun trembled with excitement. An anomaly, a rare profession. The appearance of the anomaly indicated the emergence of a rare profession, elemental mage. Principal Lu's excitement was overwhelming. Just moments ago, he had mentioned rare professions as wishful thinking. Now, his wish had come true. Master Zhang and Principal Lu were both delighted. After Charlotte returned, a group of classmates surrounded her, bombarding her with questions. This was a main combat class profession, and moreover, it was rare. Then, Lin heard his name. He lifted his foot and walked toward the array. Charlotte watched him, her eyes filled with a sense of challenge. Principal Lu glanced at Master Zhang beside him and asked, "How is this child?" Master Zhang replied calmly, "Academic performance and class transfer do not necessarily correlate. You know this." Lu obviously understood but still held on to his expectations. The array activated, erupting in a brilliant light. Suddenly, the bright sky darkened, and in the blink of an eye, dark clouds covered the heavens. Chilling winds blew from all directions, causing the temperature to plummet. Day turned into night, as if doomsday had arrived. Lu exclaimed in astonishment, "What is happening?" Master Zhang fixed his gaze on the array, his eyes narrowing as he watched the unprecedented phenomenon unfold. Master Zhang calmly said, "An anomaly. A class transfer anomaly." Principal Lu nearly exclaimed in surprise. Such a massive class transfer anomaly was unheard of. Agitated, he thought, with such a significant anomaly, not having a rare profession would be unacceptable. Charlotte clenched her fists. This anomaly was far greater than the one before, and though she felt a sense of unwillingness to admit defeat, she couldn't help but acknowledge its significance. Suddenly, a student shouted, "Look! There's movement within the dark clouds." Everyone looked up. Within the dark clouds, flickers of lightning could be seen. Apart from the lightning, there seemed to be something else. Moreover, a crackling friction sound emanated from the dense clouds, causing discomfort in their ears. Finally, a sharp-eyed student caught sight of what was within the clouds and was so frightened that he fell to the ground. "The dark clouds are filled with countless skeletons," he stammered. As his words trailed off, the entire scene within the dark clouds was fully revealed. Thousands upon thousands of skeletons stood densely packed, their flickering flames the soul fires within their skulls. They all slightly bowed, paying their respects to their master. One of the soul fires descended from the sky and landed on Lin. Subsequently, all the anomalies vanished in an instant, and everything returned to normal. Unique hidden class. Necromancer. It was not just a rare class, it was a hidden class and a uniquely hidden class. This meant that there was only one of this class in the entire world. Unless Lin died, there would never be a second person with the same class. Among the students, there were those who congratulated him, those who were puzzled, those who were jealous, those who were disdainful, and those who were afraid. Despite feeling excitement about his unique and hidden class, Lin showed no outward emotion. He believed that emotions should be kept hidden. "Wait a moment," Master Zhang called out to him as he passed by. Lin turned around and saluted Master Zhang. This was the first time Master Zhang had encountered such a class, and he wanted Lin to demonstrate his skills. After checking his attributes, Lin found that besides the basic attributes and level, he had 2 skills. The first skill was Summon Skeleton Warrior, with 7 levels: Black Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Diamond, Legendary, and Divine. Currently, he could only summon a Black Iron skeleton. The second skill was Soul Flame, which allowed him to burn the souls of his targets with power depending on his own spiritual strength and level. Knowing that demonstrating the Soul Flame skill would not be appropriate, Lin chose to summon a Skeleton Warrior instead. Activating the skill, a black vortex appeared beside Lin. From the vortex, a Skeleton Warrior engulfed in flames of soul fire emerged. His spirit energy instantly dropped from 20 points to 10 points, consuming half of it. The Black Iron level Skeleton Warrior had gray bones with numerous cracks all over its body. Even the sword it held was worn and weathered. The sight of the Skeleton Warrior left the onlookers in awe and apprehension, realizing the true power and uniqueness of Lin's new class. The Skeleton Warrior, its armor tattered and seemingly salvaged from a heap of junk, had attributes of 15 across the board but no additional skills. With its 4 main attributes evenly balanced, it had neither strengths nor weaknesses and could only perform basic attacks. As the Skeleton Warrior emerged, the students couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, instinctively taking a few steps back. People always harbor a certain level of fear towards terrifying things. Master Zhang's fingertips emitted a gentle glow as he touched the Skeleton Warrior. Instantly, its eyes glowed red and the flames of the soul fire within flickered intensely. Lin noticed that the system detected the skeleton warrior being attacked and asked if he wanted to counterattack. If no choice was made within 10 seconds, it would automatically retaliate. Recalling a crucial piece of information, Lin immediately commanded the skeleton warrior not to move. This surprised Master Zhang. At level 52, he was not accustomed to summoned creatures exhibiting hostility towards him, especially from someone only at level 1. Nevertheless, he held high expectations for Lin's future and encouraged him to work hard. The skeleton warrior followed behind Lin, making clicking sounds and accompanied by chilling gusts of wind, adding to its eerie atmosphere. As Lin returned, many classmates unconsciously distanced themselves from him, except for Gao Yang, who approached with curiosity. "I want to touch it," Gao Yang said, his voice a mix of excitement and apprehension. Lin nodded in approval. Gao Yang gathered his courage and reached out to touch the skeleton warrior. Its surface felt like steel plates, cold and unyielding. Soon, it was Gao Yang's turn to undergo his class transition. Lin glanced at the skeleton warrior and silently thought, "Recall." A vortex appeared before him once again, and the skeleton warrior entered it, disappearing from sight. The system displayed that his summoning space now showed 1/10 capacity. Lin carefully examined the description of the summoning space. It served as a place to store summoned creatures, allowing unused ones to be kept and summoned whenever needed without consuming spiritual power. As he reflected on his class transition, he recalled the vision he witnessed during the process, a vision entirely different from what others experienced. He saw a colossal dragon soaring through the air, emitting cries of agony. In an instant, it descended to the ground, thrashing about madly. Lin observed countless skeleton warriors crawling all over the dragon's body, numbering in the thousands. The skeleton warriors wielded their blades, continuously striking the dragon's body, each blow inflicting terrifying wounds. No matter how the dragon struggled, it was futile. The transition formation erupted in a brilliant light. Gao Yang's class transition was complete. Advanced melee class, sword and shield knight. He had become a knight, just as he had hoped. Gao Yang excitedly ran back, his face beaming with joy. For a rare moment, Lin showed a hint of a smile and even gave Gao Yang a thumbs up. Gao Yang burst into laughter, patting Lin's shoulder enthusiastically. "From now on, we'll tackle dungeons together. I'll stand in front of you. If someone wants to kill me, they'll have to step over your corpse first." Lin was speechless, shaking his head at his friend. "You got it in reverse," he finally spoke up. Gao Yang was taken aback and then laughed heartily. "You finally spoke up. I said it in reverse on purpose, didn't you notice?" Lin gave Gao Yang a disdainful look, but a hint of amusement flickered in his eyes. Finally, all the students completed their class transitions. Principal Lu congratulated everyone once again, announcing that tomorrow their newbie dungeon would be open to all students. The details of the newbie leveling dungeon were known to almost everyone. The monsters inside were concentrated between levels 1 and 8, with their numbers few and the difficulty low. Charlotte approached Lin, stopping him in his tracks. She wanted to challenge him to see who would achieve better results in the final exam. Lin looked at her with a puzzled expression, then nodded and bypassed her. Charlotte took his nod as acceptance of her challenge. Returning home, Lin found the house empty and devoid of any presents. He picked up a photo frame and looked at it, the simple furnishings highlighting the starkness of his living conditions. One photo stood out prominently, featuring Lin, a young and beautiful woman who was his sister, and an elderly woman with gray hair, his grandmother. There was a knock on the door. Principal Lu stood there with a package of supplies for Lin's daily needs. Lin accepted the food and thanked Principal Lu. Over the past year, Lu had been sending food supplies every few days. It was a promise he made to Lin's sister last year. Lin's sister, Lin Mohan, was admitted to Xiajing Academy as the top scholar in Western Sea City. However, she didn't want to go because she wanted to stay behind and take care of her younger brother. Principal Lu had tried hard to convince her to attend the academy, promising to take care of Lin personally. After waving goodbye to Principal Lu, Lin began experimenting with his new class. He opened his stat window and checked his 2 skills. Suddenly, an anomaly occurred within the system. The system detected Lin awakening as a necromancer and initiated a binding process with the most powerful talent system. As a result, Lin was bestowed with a new talent, a comprehensive enhancement that amplified all his skill effects by 5 times. In addition, he gained a passive skill called Damage Transfer, allowing him to redirect all damage he received to his summoned creatures. Both of these were considered overpowered skills, their strength almost indescribable. Lin activated his skill and summoned a black iron-level skeleton. A vortex appeared in front of him. At first glance, this skeleton looked no different from the one he summoned earlier in the day, still resembling something that came out of a garbage heap. However, its attributes had undergone a tremendous transformation, increasing from the original value of 15 to 75. The next day arrived swiftly, and Lin found himself standing at the entrance of the newbie dungeon. It wasn't just his high school classmates who gathered there. Students from all over Western Sea City, having completed their class transfers, flocked to this dungeon. They all knew the drill. Forming a team meant evenly distributed experience points, but senior players advised that soloing was best for dungeons below level 10. Principal Liu approached the group, his presence commanding attention. Everyone, except for Charlotte and Lin, must bring support roles into the dungeon, he announced. A student quickly asked, why don't Charlotte and Lin need support? Principal Liu replied, Charlotte is preparing to apply to Xiing Academy. As for Lin, you can ask him if he needs any support. Several support players, mostly girls, shook their heads in disagreement. The sight of Lin's skeletal warriors frightened them, and they had no desire to form a team with him. Lin stepped forward and informed Principal Liu, I also intend to apply to Xiing Academy. This declaration surprised the principal, as one of the academy's entry requirements was a minimum level of 12. Lin had just a week to level up, a daunting task. Despite this, Lin remained confident. As he prepared to enter the dungeon, Charlotte challenged him, let's see who can level up faster. Lin's response was non-committal, neither agreeing nor refusing. Charlotte, with a huff and a tilt of her head, exposing her slender neck, declared, if you don't answer, I'll take it as a yes. Lin released 4 skeletal warriors, commanding them to hunt monsters. The warriors dashed off, quickly slaying weaker creatures. Notifications of successful kills and experience gains flooded in as the skeletal warriors targeted big-eared bunnies. In less than half an hour, Lin reached level 2. He summoned more black iron-grade skeletal warriors and observed their movements, which formed a mental map of the dungeon. Spotting overlooked monsters, he activated his skill, Soul Flame, instantly killing the level 2 creatures. Soon, Lin reached level 3. As he summoned even more skeletal warriors, they easily dispatched level 5 monsters. Lin barely lifted a finger, simply reaping the experience points as they rolled in. Before long, he had ascended to level 4. Outside the dungeon, Principal Liu and Charlotte's father conversed. They noted that Su Changxing and Lin Mohan had both reached level 5 in the beginner's dungeon. They believed Charlotte would soon hit that mark too. They were aware that each dungeon run ended automatically after 12 hours, making it tough to climb much higher in one go. 11 Dongyang shifted the conversation to Lin. Knowing Lin was a necromancer, he expressed his astonishment. Dealing with the undead is unsettling for most people, he remarked, as they watched Lin's progress from afar. Lin moved swiftly through the dungeon, leveling up with remarkable speed. 7 hours had passed, yet he had not encountered a single level 8 monster. He noted that his skeletal warriors could only roam up to 500 meters from him, annihilating any monsters in their path. The dungeon's terrain finally changed after a while. The expansive grassland ended, giving way to a dense forest. As Lin stepped into the forest, a tree branch lashed out at him like a whip. The branch struck him, but thanks to his passive skill, the damage was transferred to his summoned creatures, leaving him unharmed. Ahead, a massive level 8 tree, the whipwood tree, loomed. Lin commanded one of his skeletal warriors to attack it, but to his surprise, it wasn't instantly felled. He ordered all his warriors to converge on the tree, and after 4 powerful strikes, it toppled. The forest ahead was dense with level 8 whipwood trees. Lin commanded his skeletal warriors to spread out and attack the trees, their blades landing decisively with 4 strikes each. The warriors moved efficiently, swiftly clearing the forest. Outside the dungeon, the sky darkened, and suddenly a brilliant light shone from the dungeon's entrance, drawing everyone's attention. Lin emerged from the light, and Principal Liu rushed over to him. How did you come out? He asked, incredulous. Lin replied softly, I beat the dungeon. Principal Liu was stunned. Lin had reached level 7 in just 10 hours. He could barely believe it. Lin, without much explanation, requested permission to go to the outskirts of West Sea City. The principal, still in shock, was momentarily speechless. Lin called out to him again and waved a hand in front of his eyes, snapping him out of his daze. Take a rest, Principal Liu instructed, still trying to process what had happened. He returned to his desk, where the other principals awaited his report. After a few sips of tea, he revealed, Lin has completed the newbie dungeon. Everyone was astonished. They could hardly believe it. Meanwhile, Lin meditated to replenish his spiritual energy, having summoned a total of 24 skeletal warriors. His summoning space still had 70 vacant slots. As the 12-hour time limit expired, students were teleported out of the dungeon one by one. Many emerged exhausted, but most were excited. Charlotte stepped out, having reached level 5. She looked around for Lin, her beautiful eyes scanning the surroundings until she spotted him deep in meditation. Her eyes widened, and she froze in shock, realizing that Lin had reached level 7. As her father, Sha Dongyang, waved his hand and got into the car with her, she couldn't help but glance back at Lin. Sha Dongyang noticed her gaze and immediately understood what she was thinking. Charlotte snorted, her eyes burning with determination. Sha Dongyang smiled but kept silent, sensing the rivalry brewing between them. Charlotte had been informed that Lin had completed the dungeon and emerged victorious after just 10 hours, having defeated all the level 8 monsters. On the bus, Gao Yang hugged Lin tightly, awestruck by his achievement. "How did you manage to reach level 7 so quickly?" he asked, pleading to join him on his next leveling expedition. Lin winked and replied, "Sure, maybe later." The next morning, Gao Yang couldn't find Lin at the school gate. He soon learned that Lin had gone to the outskirts of Western Sea City. It dawned on Gao Yang that Lin had deftly evaded him, explaining why he had agreed so readily the previous day. At the Imperial Exchange District, Lin underwent the identity verification process. He gained access to the exchange, albeit with only level 1 permissions. As he perused the available missions, mostly basic trading and gathering tasks, one mission caught his eye: clearing a level 14 dungeon. The difficulty levels ranged from normal to nightmare and hell, with this particular mission requiring a nightmare level or higher completion. Lin shook his head, realizing he was still too weak for such a challenge. The city gate guard scrutinized Lin's exit permit and verified his information. Although puzzled by how a low-level student was allowed to leave the city, the permit was genuine, and the guard approved it. He advised Lin to stay safe and cautious. As Lin stepped out of the city gate, a cold wind blew against him. The sky darkened, and the atmosphere grew heavy, making the world outside the city feel entirely different. Sensing the presence of goblins behind him, Lin summoned his skeletal soldiers to attack. The level 10 goblins were no match for his level S skeleton warriors. Excitement surged through Lin as he summoned all his warriors and charged towards the goblin army. Clenching his fists, he felt a surge of anticipation. Reaching level 15 before the major exam now seemed attainable. He recalled how his sister had already reached level 16 before her own exam and wondered how she had achieved such progress. He couldn't wait to see her and share his accomplishments. As time passed, Lin's level increased to 10, enhancing his talents and skills. He could now summon bronze-level skeleton warriors, which boasted significantly higher attributes. Eagerly, he summoned one. It appeared with a pale greenish-white hue, wielding an axe. Its base attributes were astonishingly high, reaching 1,500, and it possessed a skill called Rampage Strike, which dealt double damage and had a cooldown of 10 minutes. Just as Lin was about to summon more bronze-level skeleton warriors, he heard the sound of breaking wind. Several arrows flew past him, with one striking him. His passive skill redirected the damage to his skeleton warrior, leaving him unharmed. A figure dressed in black emerged from the forest, moving with impressive agility. She noticed Lin and swiftly changed direction, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Judging by her attire, Lin deduced she was an assassin. Two more figures appeared, an archer and a mage. Unable to catch the girl, they demanded to know where she had gone. Instead of answering, Lin spoke coldly, "You shot me with an arrow. Apologize." The archer looked at the arrow on the ground,